Started recording. Sweet. So I think we are officially underway with our very first podcast, Ray, for Tri Elements, the Athlete Connection. So there's a lot of work getting up to this point, but we finally made it. How are you
Finally,
feeling?
I'm feeling good. How about yourself, man?
I'm excited. It's hot, but got little ones running around,
Welcome to
dealing with
the welcome to the I.
regular. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. Got the little ones running around and working from home, so we'll make it happen though. Um, real quick, obviously the athlete connection. So I got some notes that I'm reading off, but for everybody that might be listening, just wanted to provide a platform for current, former athletes, just kind of share their journey, what got them to where they're at, maybe some of the experiences.
Right.
Hopefully, whoever's listening, they'll be able to kind of take something away from it. Maybe they're going through the same journeys, or maybe they have the goals or their aspirations to kind of walk in the same shoes. So hopefully, throughout the course of this podcast, people will be able to learn something and maybe make some connections and really maybe mentor some kids that kind of help them out along their way. So, um, thanks for hopping on. I know your background. Obviously, you're a brother from another mother, but want to take a couple minutes and just kind of introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, what sport you play, how you got there, just kind of the overall intro for yourself.
All right. Well, to sum it up, we played all sports. Started sports probably went back when I was in second, third, no, fourth and fifth. I started kind of late for my family. Did all sports. Sucked the first year. Um, did it's reality. Did track, found out speed, and then after that, like I didn't suck at sports anymore. I found my niche. I had some speed, right? So yeah, so I grew up playing all sports and all the way up till high school. Came down between it was a basketball, baseball, track, and I chose track, which I don't like running, but hey, it's all good. Um, Track and field was great for me. Got me out of the inner city. It was awesome. Did not have in my head. I thought I was going to go to UCLA, everything like that, but God has different plans. Got injured, didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, but went to the JUCO route, junior college. Went to Cerritos College, alma mater, and got my scholarship back to UC Riverside, where I ran for a year. And then like senior year, a little bit different that I'm always transparent. Like I didn't run my last year. Um, Sports at the college level, as the D1 level, it is something that, it takes a toll on people and they don't realize what they're getting in
Hmm.
until they're in it and how
Hmm.
about just a sport, but it's a business now. So broke down for a little bit, took a year off, 2 years off, and then got back at it to get ready for the Olympic trials. By that time, just done with it, kind of moved on, got into
Hmm.
strength and conditioning,
Hmm.
where I found a passion to share my story, our story, passions, different ways of going about it. Worked with different athletes to where I'm at right now, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's many different shoes that you're wearing, different hats that you're wearing, I guess, so to speak. But like going back, how did you, at what point, being a multi-sport athlete, like what point did you figure out that, track was your sport?
Um, Good question. I think track gave me that confidence for all my other sports. Maybe
Hmm.
great Carnival of Champions in Downey. It's like this inner district, all elementary schools against everybody. I don't know if you guys had anything like that, but I came in second. I didn't even know I had speed. They put me as a lineman in football. Had no idea, right? And I was not, I was a skinny kid with a big head. So, and then, in those sports as well, I gravitated. I had some, like some sparks of speed. So,
Hmm.
I think probably at a young age, I kind of realized that I had above average speed. My daddy was track runner. All my uncles and aunties were. My grandfather was too. So,
Yeah.
fortunate to have that background with it, and I could take it as far as I could take it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps when you have a little bit of the people that kind of walked in those shoes and give you those experiences. You kind of learn from, make it your own.
Right.
So kind of skipping fast forward, obviously, you're at that high school level, like at what point did you start to realize or kind of identify like, hey, I could potentially turn this into something to get me into Cerritos or to the college or the Olympic trials? Like, at what point did you kind of see that?
Well, it was my sophomore year. Like my
Mm,
sophomore year, I mean, we had cats. Like back in high school, cats were running. Like,
mm-hmm.
um, I know as a sophomore, I was running like a 10:8, 10:7 in 100 meters,
Okay.
which school record. I think it's still up there in Warren, and it's
Hey, hey, let them
right.
know. Let them
But
know.
I fast forward just a little bit to like CIF these days, and people are winning with 10:7, like 100 meters. I was like, psh, man, I would have been a champ if I
Right.
lived. Um, but right there, I knew I was above average, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, um, you know, I think Cat started running 10:2s. I don't
Yeah.
know. Best I could get was 10:5s when I was in like my senior, but I was still competing, still made CIF finals. So like around sophomore year, I kind of knew it's like, oh man, I was like fastest kid in the city. I could like, it was just smoke for me, right? So
Yeah.
that's my confidence my sophomore year.
Did you have like at that point, like you said, members of your family, but obviously they're a little bit older than you. Like, did you have anyone kind of within that same age that you maybe kind of looked up to that you could talk with that kind of tell you their experiences, or if if you didn't, like how much of an impact do you think, or how much of a shift or an alter to what ultimately happened? Like, how much of an impact do you think that
I
was or could have been?
I didn't have anybody like in my family that was like at my level.
Hmm.
So like all my cousins were blessed with talents. My daddy, he had all these scholarships for track and football,
Hmm.
which I always knew growing up, but he never took it. He just decided, like, hey, I'm going to work. Never really
Hmm.
why. Never asked him why. He never shared why. I think now, fast forward and seeing the toll it takes on your body, mental
Hmm.
state, kind of see probably
Understand it. Yeah.
like I'm done.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, nobody really like briefed me on like what could happen at that next level. It was just me like wanting to do something different and
Hmm.
out of my current state and get out of my current position, and that's how I use track.
Right. Do you think if you did have that someone that was, I don't know, even, I mean, we all have our friends, but at the same time, you're kind of like competing with your friends, and that's what kind of makes it fun, even if it's within different sports. But I mean, if there was someone that was, let's say, you know, 5 or 6 years older than you at that time, like how much of an impact do you think that would have made during that time period?
That would be huge, huge, and I think that's what's inspired us, me, um, at this level of working with athletes these days. Not
Hmm.
the physical conditioning aspect, but the mental. You know,
Hmm.
I like to brief all my athletes getting ready for college.
Hmm.
What to expect. The coaches that shake your hand and show you so much love. Trying to get
Right.
to school, and it's
The
like,
cell, the cell.
oh my gosh, you got family.
Right.
Completely different if you have a class that's scheduled in on during practice time, and it's it's one of your main
Right.
classes,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And don't let that happen. You're a student athlete or an athlete student. So yeah, I think that would have been huge if I would have had somebody just to prep me mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally, so I could be prepared.
I'm glad you said that, like preparation. Like we both know as athletes, as coaches, trainers, competitors, like preparation is key.
Mhm.
Like how important was, well, what was your preparation like? Let's fast forward to like now we're at the collegiate stage of your life. Like how important was your preparation, and like what did that preparation look like, you know, on and off the track?
I mean, preparation for me first was education, right? I knew that I
Hmm.
couldn't go anywhere without like having the GPA, and that's
Hmm.
stressed at Cerritos because track and field was a little bit different um, sport, whereas we didn't just compete with JUCOs, right? We could go to the
Mm-hmm.
mountain relays. We could go. So you're getting looked at like at these major. You're running against SC. You're running against UCLA. You're running at
Yeah.
all. So you're already at that top level, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you make it to those invites. So they're prepping you because they know eyes are looking at you. So they're already prepping you at the JUCO level for track and field, especially at Cerritos, saying
Right.
have your grades in order. You have to have A, B, and C, and like meeting with our athletic counselor. Like for us, Cerritos College really was a great feeder into D1 because I
Mm-hmm.
was already used to meeting with my athletic counselor. Hey, you have to
Right.
as this class, this class, you have to have these units for this school, things like that, where I was ready for that next level. So the prep work for the education was there, and
Mm-hmm.
then Reels, just like Mount Sac, was already above par in the training with respect. It was better. It was better training than what I received at the D1 level.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. And I mean, it's awesome. That's another reason why I wanted to kind of get on here with just the diverse group of athletes from, different sports or even, backgrounds and generations, because I was having a conversation with a parent and they're like already trying to prepare their kid for D1 and trying to figure out the recruiting and the scouting. But, everybody always overlooks like the JUCO route. And so talk a little bit about that. Like, what was that like experience like for you? And I mean, as coaches and as trainers, like I know your thoughts, but like what's your thoughts on that and maybe the recommendation, the pros or cons for some people that maybe aren't able to just go straight D1?
So there was a lot of ego involved with it. I remember Coach Wells coming, and he was the head coach of Cerritos College, coming to my awards banquet my senior year, and I was like, nah. It's like I'm good. I'm good. So I had an ego with myself, right?
Right, right,
The year didn't fare well like I thought. I had such an ego that I didn't sign my junior year or my senior year. I was like, I'm waiting for UCLA, so I'm just going to bank it all on
right.
senior year, so it's all good. Hamstring, you know.
Done. Reset.
I was out for like a majority of the season.
Hmm.
So all the eyes that I was expecting to get looked at those major invites in high school, I was
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So I was off the radar for a good minute, right? So I came back, made it to CIF finals, got beefed up though. I wasn't at that peak level.
Hmm.
So reality hit when I was only getting looked at by D2 schools, and
Yeah,
so my ego was like, nah, I'm good with track, So I actually went into interior design, I was like, I
right.
went to art school. I was like,
Okay,
I'm done with sports.
right.
Um, so my buddy, my buddy at the time, he was telling me about Cerritos, and I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, you got to get back into it. And I was like, you know what, let's try it. So like I was only at that school for about a semester.
Yeah.
Then came Cerritos, and it was again I didn't know about that route. I didn't understand it again. And going back to your previous questions about what would it have done if you had like a mentor or somebody that could explain that to you, that there was a different path that, especially
Hmm.
my sport, track and field, where you could go to the JUCO route, take care of all your credits, take care of all the educational aspect,
Say, and the financial.
financial aspect, because like I went to school for free.
Right,
Like so it was cool. Like, and then I had like track and everything. So there was per diem. So I was treated like a D1 athlete in JUCO. I wasn't aware of this, right?
right, right,
And then finally, getting looked at by UCR, like they prepared me for that.
right.
So that JUCO really helped me out for somebody that didn't have those mentors.
Yeah,
So I think that's the prep work. When we talk about prep work, that's what JC, the junior college, did for me, because I
yeah,
didn't have those examples. Junior college stepped in for me and really just opened my eyes to that world
yeah,
and what to expect and things of that nature. So.
yeah. That's awesome. So fast forward, looking back, what do you think was probably the most important thing you learned, or maybe the most influential thing that you kind of take away, like from your total experience, and not just at the JUCO, just like over the course of your like collegiate, experience as a student athlete?
Um, I think the most important thing was or is that you know humble yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know D1 is all like it's the big rave. You know, everybody wants to be a millionaire. Everybody wants to have those billions. You know, but um, there are some things to say about being in that process, and sometimes junior college is like the best fit at times before that next level. It
Mm.
prepares for me from my standpoint. Um, I thought I was ready for D1, but
Right.
mentally, I don't think I was prepared for it at that time. You know,
Yeah.
especially in high school. You know, so
And you're just talking
yeah,
not even like athletically. You mean like
yeah.
academically as well,
Oh yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, and you know, and I've always been like a 3.8, 4.0 student, but
Right.
understanding how units work, how classes worked,
Right.
things of that nature. You know, oh, you have to select a major, you know, right here. So are your units cashed in for this major? Oh, they don't
Mm-hmm.
have that major at this college. So,
Right.
you know, there's so many different things that you have to understand. You know, even when you go to college, you know, are you going to college just because it's UCLA or USC, or are you going to college because hey, they have my degree?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a good
they
fit for you.
have,
Yeah.
is that a good fit for you? So I
Right.
think that's the biggest thing. You want to go somewhere, you know, at that level. That's a good fit for you instead of
Right.
just that oh, I just want to go to the glitz and glamour. So
Right.
just really humble yourself and just go back to it's like basics and just really what is the best thing situation for you.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So I mean, what do you how would you overall like rate your experience? Like, would you do it all over again? Obviously, I know the answer to that, but answer that question. And last and final question is like, what sort of advice or recommendation would you give to anyone like the young Ray if he were to, start all over again?
I mean, such that's a loaded question in itself because where,
Absolutely.
where I'm at right now, I know that if anything were to change, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And I'm
Right.
blessed to have a beautiful wife and two awesome kids, so I wouldn't change anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being selfish,
Right.
and really just, wanting to live up to full potential,
Mm-hmm.
athletically. Not saying that I didn't, but saying that there was, or there was still left in the tank. Just
Right.
I wish I could like prepare myself or prepare young Ray. Just like, hey, why don't you go to that D2 school and
Mm.
and check out what the coach is talking about?
Yeah.
You
Would you
know,
change your training regimen? Would you eat better? Like, what
well,
would you?
I think the eating everything like that was on not on point. I mean, shoot, it's ridiculous. But I think that there were D2 schools that had great training programs, better than
Right.
what I did at my D1 school, and maybe
Right.
I could have lasted a lot longer in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all about D1. I was like, instead of
Right.
thinking, hey, let's go somewhere that is the right fit for your training
Mm-hmm.
because speaking for track, there's a couple of ways you can train a 400-meter runner, which that was my
Oh,
niche.
you're right.
You can train a 400-meter runner as a 4.8 and above, so he's
Mm-hmm.
running distance a little bit, or you can train him as a sprinter, so you're running like the 4, 2, and 1, and you're training him more on a sprinter load. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I was a sprinter load, right? Um, I got to that D1 level and I went somewhere where they were a distance load, where it was four,
Mm.
8s, and miles. It didn't work out for me. It broke down my body, broke down mentally. So I needed to understand that I should have went somewhere that was the right fit for me. That's the only thing that I would tell myself: go somewhere where it fits for you, the training aspect.
Yeah. And that's awesome. And I mean, I'm glad you answered it that way because that brings everything full circle. We're talking about like obviously the main goal and focus for this podcast is to help kind of, inform and educate and potentially, connect some mentors. And I think to your point earlier, like if you had someone to connect with, to kind of give you that insight, to ask those questions like, hey, what's in it for you? Like, what type of runner are you? What type of football player are you?
Right.
So look for these things. Like, I think that's very key to to help set you up for success. And to your
Right.
point, like it's not, I mean, you're gonna be measured successful anyway. Like if you're a competitor and you're really serious about it, you and I both agree like you're gonna work towards that, and your level of success is not gonna be defined with how far you go, but obviously, how you set those goals, how you reach those goals, and how that journey between. So I think that's super beneficial. So
Hmm.
yeah, man, that's great. 20 minutes, that's the goal. Keep it, short and sweet. You answered very, very in-depth and precise. I knew you would. Came through in the clutch for the first episode, so appreciate it. So, yeah, man, hopefully each week we can kind of have a new guest on, get some new insight for all of our listeners, whoever is listening, or maybe you can just have some good conversation for me and you, who knows. But
Heck yeah, I
um,
can't wait. This is going to be awesome. Let's do
cool,
this.
man. So I appreciate you taking the time. And as usual, everyone, you guys can check out our website, trielementsfitness.com. Reach out to us social media at trielementsfitness on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. But yeah, man, we'll talk to you guys soon.
Peace.